Laura Mondi on the sign language interpretation. And operations at Jomo Kenyatta International Airport were thrown into a disarray on Monday after members of the Kenya Aviation Workers Union that began an industrial strike disrupting air traffic and grounding dozens of flights. Now the walkout followed the expiry of a 7-day strike notice, with the workers downing their tools despite last-minute efforts by the Kenya Civil Aviation Authority. Now the order to block the action through the Labour Court. Now the union say talks over a long-delayed collective bargaining agreement that the CBA have stalled, leaving workers with no option but to strike by midday. More than 20 aircraft were reportedly held on the runway as air traffic control services were severely affected. Airport authorities activated a contingency plan to maintain essential operations, but delays and cancellations continue to mount. Major airlines, including Kenya Airways and Tanzania's Precision Air, adjusted their schedules, citing air traffic control disruption that made normal operations impossible. Take a look.
These are still the initial stages of our strike action, because in the coming hours we will be asking Kenya Airports Authority employees to join the strike. And the situation has been made worse by the decision to deploy the GSU, the police officers at the airport. As we speak, we have the GSU officers manning the entry points and the exit points at JKIA. And because of that, we are immediately withdrawing all employees on duty now. All KA employees, we are asking them to leave and to go home. We are equally asking employees who are expected to report duty in the evening from KQ, from KAA, from Swissport, and all other ground handling companies not to report to duty.
Now let's talk matters politics. And leaders of the United Opposition have announced plans to stage a major demonstration on Friday at the offices of the Inspector General of Police at Jogoo House in Nairobi, escalating the standoff with the security establishment over what they described as persistent harassment of their political activities. The opposition coalition, led by Democracy for Citizens Party leader, that is Rigathi Gachagua, and Wiper Patriotic leader, that is Kalonzo Musyoka, accused Interior Cabinet Secretary, that is Kipchumba Murkomen, Principal Secretary Raymond Omolo, and Inspector General of Police Douglas Kanja of failing to address their grievances despite repeated engagements. Now, despite the speaking to supporters, the leaders said the planned protest is aimed at forcing accountability from the security agencies, which they claim have been systematically disrupting opposition rallies across the country. Now, they allege that their meetings have increasingly been targeted by police actions, including heavy security deployments and, in some cases, the use of tear gas, which they argue is meant to intimidate and silence dissenting voices.
The IG and the people under him must be held to account by the people of Kenya. And the police themselves are complaining about harassment and being ordered to do wrong things. They are really complaining that they find it very unprofessional to be accompanying goons to attack Kenyans. They find it very unprofessional that they are being forced to attack civilians in meetings when they have not been provoked, as happened yesterday in Kengela.
Hatuwezi sisi tukavumilia kwa niaba ya wananchi wa Kenya ati mpaka mkuu wa polisi ataamua ni lini atakutana na viongozi ambao ni viongozi ambao wako wanaheshimika na Kenya nzima. Sisi tunazungumza kwa niaba ya Wakenya wote. Kwa hivyo hiyo ndio ambayo tumeamua, na tunarudi hapa Friday.
And when we come, we expect none other than IG Kanja himself to be here to address the concerns we have raised. If he does not appear, we will still keep coming here every week until we hold accountable all those officers who have perpetuated these gross violations of human rights.
2 million, 3.3 million people are starving to death, and there's no one to pick up for them. Kenyans are killed by the police.
Right, still on matters politics, the United Green Movement party leader David Maraga has called on the government to take decisive action against the use of tear gas in opposition political gatherings. Speaking during a visit to Meru County, Maraga expressed support for opposition calls, urging Inspector General of Police Douglas Kanja to hold accountable officers implicated in such incidences. Maraga also raised concerns over the worsening drought and hunger across the country, criticizing the government for failing to implement effective measures to protect citizens from the impact of this crisis. He warned that many regions continue to suffer under these harsh conditions, with no clear relief in sight.
With the united opposition in condemning the tear gassing of gatherings, the tear gassing particularly of churches. Government services are supposed to be taken to the people. It is not the people who should spend the little they have to go and seek government services. So my appeal is to to the IBC and to registrar persons to go around and register the people.
In the 10 counties that we have been in, we have seen Kenyans really suffering from high levels of youth unemployment, crisis in terms of drought because of climate change, and we have listened over and over to Kenyans who are really saying that they feel cheated by this government, they feel neglected, they feel actually robbed of their resources.
All right, opposition leaders led by DCP party leader Rigathi Gachagua have sharply criticized the government, asserting that it deserves only a single term in office. Speaking during rallies at River Road, Nyamakima and Tirum in Macharia constituency, Gachagua accused the administration of failing to deliver on promises and called for accountability to the people. Now, the United Opposition Coalition also announced plans to field a candidate to challenge President William Ruto in the upcoming election, signaling a coordinated effort to consolidate political forces ahead of the contest.
Na sisi tunataka kuhakikishia nyinyi, sisi katika upinzani tumekubaliana. Mimi Rigiji, huyu Kalonzo Musyoka, Eugene Wamalwa, Fred Matiang'i, Martha Karua, Justin Muturi, Mithika Lentore, tutatoa candidate moja wa kupambana na Kasongo. Wangapi wanasema tutoe mtu moja akung'ana na Kasongo, mtu moja mtu. Na mimi nataka kuambia wale wabunge wa ODM, huyu Walado wa Makadara, huyu Oluochi wa Mathare, yule Kajwang wa Rwaraka, yule Jalash wa Lang'ata, Kasongo hana kura yote Nairobi. Hana kura yote Nairobi. Nyinyi mkijipanga na Kasongo, mkitafuta pesa kidogo ya kukula, mtaenda nyumbani asubuhi na mapema. Hii viti yote 17 ya Nairobi, kiti ya gavana, kiti ya senate, kiti ya women rep, yote itaenda na United Opposition. Hakuna kitu UDA watapata hapa jijini Nairobi. Tunasema Kasongo akienda, aende na wale ambao wamesumbua watu ya Nairobi. Huyu Sakaja amehangaisha watu ya Kanairo, si ndio? Huyu Sakaja ni one term, si one term. Sakaja ni one term, si one term. Aende asiende? Wacha nione wana nasema Sakaja aende, Sakaja aende, Sakaja aende. Sisi tumekuwa hapo kwa Inspector General Police. Tulikuwa tumeagana, tulikuwa pale wiki mbili kwa sababu ya vile polisi walivamia kanisa Udhaya kupiga wamama na watoto. Vile Kasongo waliua watoto huko Kiambaa Church, akachoma watoto na wamama 2007. Amerudia hiyo tabia ya kupigana na kanisa na kupigana na wamama. Inspector General akasema turudi leo. Kuisikia tunakuja, akatoroka. Akaambiwa na Kasongo, toroka, usikutane na hao watu. Sisi tumemwambia Inspector General Police, siku ya Ijumaa tutarudi hapo Jogoo House tukiandamana na wananchi 1,100 ndio ujibu hiyo maswali.
Leo pia tuko hapa kuambia Bwana Ruto, yeye ameanza kufungua mpaka wa Kenya na Somalia. Kuna sababu tulifunga mpaka ule tukiwa na Mwai Kibaki, sababu kulikuwa na tishio ya usalama wa taifa letu. Al-Shabaab are still a threat to the people of Nairobi and the people of Kenya. Lakini sababu anataka kutoa watu nje eti waje wajisajili hapo wachukue kura, ati ajaze kikapu chake, anahatarisha Wakenya. Hiyo mtakubali kweli?
Right, at the same time, leaders allied to the Kenya Kwanza coalition in Trans Nzoia County have come out strongly in support for the national government countering criticism from opposition figures. Speaking at a public meeting aimed at reviewing presidential performance, the leaders led by Endebe's constituency member of parliament, Robert Opukose, praised the government for significant achievements, including major water projects and the issuance of land titles to residents. Trans Nzoia Senator Alan Chesang encountered citizens to appoint leaders capable of delivering public interest fairly and without bias, emphasizing the importance of competence and accountability in local governance.
Inatakana i-benefit watu 89,000 katika sehemu hii. Serikali imeweka 800 million ili rehabilitation na distribution iweze kufanywa, mpate maji mzuri katika sehemu hii.
Ni uchungu sana, tunafika hapa tunapata watoto wajaenda shule mpaka saa hii na mko na mbunge. It is very unfortunate. Ninyi ndio wadosi, mchague watu ambao wanajua machungu ya watoto wenu. Na wakipeana basari wanapeana equal. Kwani kaunti ya Trans Nzoia imekaa namna gani tofauti na zingine? Rais wetu amesema tukuje tuangalie maslahi ya watu wetu wa Trans Nzoia. Mojawapo ikiwa ni mahali ambapo wanabiashara wanafanyia kazi. Pesa zimetengwa tayari na ametuambia tutafute 28 soko 28 zijengwe hapa Trans Nzoia, soko za kisasa.
Right, moving on, members of the ruling United Democratic Alliance, that is UDA, claim that the recent internal unrest within the Orange Democratic Movement was orchestrated by former President Uhuru Kenyatta and other leaders opposed to a merger between UDA and ODM party. Led by the party's Secretary General Hassan Omar, UDA members said that their goal is to challenge the current government, declaring they are prepared to confront opposition rivals in the 2027.
Ndani ya ODM unasikia hawataki kuendelea safari ya William Ruto. Ni wale wanaitwa nini? Vikaragosi. Wamelipwa na wale wafadhili kutoka Mlima Kenya wakiongozwa na Uhuru Kenyatta ili kuitatiza hii serikali ya Kenya. Bali Uhuru Kenyatta akichanganya kina James Orengo, wakichanganywa na kina Sifuna, hao wote sisi tunawapeleka katika lile kaburi la sahau.
Andikishe katika kila kituo cha kupiga kura. Hiyo itakuwa ni muhimu, na wale wote ambao watachaguliwa, mumeambiwa mutakutana uso kwa uso na rais, na yale mambo yote mutataka kufanyiwa kama wanachama wa UDA, nina hakika rais atawafanyia.
Na tunataka katika kila polling center tuwe na wanachama 20, na hawa wanachama 20 hawa ndio watakao peleka maneno ya chama. Hawa ndio watu ambao wataonana na rais macho kwa.
Right now, Kiharu Member of Parliament Ndindi Nyoro has called for the immediate suspension of the government's planned sale of its shares in Safaricom, warning that Kenyans risk losing billions of shillings in the transaction. Speaking on the matter, Nyoro said ordinary investors are currently able to buy Safaricom shares on the market at significantly lower prices than the government's set offer at 34 Kenya shillings per share, making the proposed sale unfair and potentially costly to the public. Now, the government has announced plans to offload 50% of its stake in the telecommunications giant. A move Nyoro argues could lead to massive losses for Kenyans if the shares are sold above prevailing market prices. Now, he cautioned that pushing ahead with the sale under the current terms would disadvantage retail investors and undermine public confidence in the capital markets.
So we are calling upon those people in government who are auctioning our assets for a song. A time has come when the markets themselves have betrayed you. The markets that you are hedging your narrative on is already past your transaction price. And therefore it is now time that Kenya halts and suspends the sale of Safaricom shares to Vodacom immediately, because Kenyans are already buying those shares at a cheaper price in the market.
All right, it is exactly 16 minutes past the top of the hour. At that note, we take a short breather here on EBN Prime Edition, but we'll be back with much more. All right, welcome back to the program. Moving on, the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, that is KICD, has announced the start of the second phase of distributing grade 10 textbooks following unexpectedly high student demand in several schools. And according to KICD Executive Director Charles Ongondo, some students changed schools and academic streams after the initial distribution data was submitted, creating a need to supply additional textbooks to meet the increased demand. KICD emphasized that the second phase aims to cover all remaining students and prevent any disruption in learning due to lack of textbooks.
We are creating a link that all the principals will have access to, so that they can now give us their final admission status, including the numbers of learners in particular pathways and particular subjects. Once we get those firm numbers, then with the permission of the Cabinet Secretary for Education and the Principal Secretary, State Department of Basic Education, we shall get into a second round of distribution. I believe that this should end towards end of March, depending on how fast we get this information from principals. If any institution, as we talk today on the 16th of February, has not received any books in a particular subject that they are offering, let KICD get that information as quickly as possible. Then we shall be able to pass, to address that gap. I will be sharing a number that the Institute has created, a telephone number that is available throughout the week that they can call, and an email address I'll be sharing with you, which they can send this information to, so that we address this gap.
For development of the curriculum, you have heard from the CEO that we are very much on course. In fact, we are very much ahead, because by the end of this year, we will be talking about that we have completed the curriculum design up to the year grade 12.
All right, moving on, the National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula has reaffirmed Parliament's firm commitment to protecting the National Government Constituencies Development Fund, that is NGCDF, describing it as a vital public resource that directly serves the needs of ordinary Kenyans. Speaking on Monday as chief guest during the prize-giving day ceremony at the Pate Girls Secondary School at Patel Island, Wetangula said that the National Assembly will continue to defend the fund because of its transformative impact on grassroots development across the country. Now, the Speaker stressed that the NGCDF complements county government's programs by focusing on locally identified priorities, especially in education, infrastructure, and social amenities. He noted that unlike other funding models, NGCDF empowers communities to decide which projects should be implemented each financial year.
Naona hii shule imejengwa na CDF na Mama Roida, hii ndio huwa nawaambia bunge lazima tu protect NGCDF, na tunaunga mkono uamuzi wa koti ya upeo kwa kusema ya kwamba CDF is not in competition with national government or with county governments. It is protected money from the national government kusaidia mashinani. Na mimi kama spika wenu taendelea kuwaunga mkono, kwa sababu bila CDF mungengojea mpaka mtu moja kule Nairobi afikirie ndiye akuja ajenge jengo kama hili. Lakini CDF tukiweka, tunaajia mama kama mbunge wenu na nyinyi wenyewe kuamua ni nini mnataka kujenga. Ndio kuhakikisha CDF uchumi ikikua, CDF pia inapanda, ili tuje tutengeneze classrooms kama haya.
Now, leaders of the Secondary and Tertiary Teachers Union in Bungoma North have raised concerns over the challenges teachers face when assessing medical services through the SHA insurance scheme. Speaking at St. Patrick's Boys Secondary School in Naitiri, union officials urged the government to take immediate action to address the issues, emphasizing that teachers should not continue to endure difficulties while seeking medical care. Now, the leaders also highlighted the need for secondary schools to be granted more autonomy in self-management, stressing that empowerment will improve both administrative efficiency and the quality of education.
We want to emphasize on issues SHA. We want to emphasize on issues autonomy, and we want also to talk about the leadership of Bungoma North at large, elections that were done recently, and the appointments that were made.
Pertaining SHA, we are suffering. We had one hospital, that was Jambo Clinic, that was helping us to get the facilities, but at the moment they are not offering. So teachers in Bungoma North are supposed to travel as far as Bungoma in order to get medication. So it is our humble request to the leaders that were elected in the office, that was in January, to ensure that at least teachers, not only in the Bungoma North, but all over the county, are getting the medication services as well.
Right, moving on, Nyali parliamentary aspirant Abdulswamad Ali has called for urgent investment in public schools in Mombasa's Nyali constituency, warning that overcrowded classrooms are undermining the quality of education in the area. Speaking during preparations for the upcoming general elections, Abdulswamad said that public schools in Nyali are currently operating with more than 100 pupils in a single class, creating congestion that limits effective teaching and learning. Now, he promised to prioritize the construction of new classrooms and additional public schools if elected, with the aim of reducing class sizes to 35 learners per classroom, in line with Kenya's Ministry of Education guidelines.
Iko na agenda ya kuboresha elimu huku Nyali, kuhakikisha kwamba watoto wetu wanasoma katika mazingira bora, kuhakikisha kwamba kila darasa isichukue zaidi ya watoto 35. Hiyo ndio Ministry of Education inavyorecommend, lakini tunaona shule zetu nyingi zina watoto zaidi ya 35, wengine wako na zaidi ya 100 mpaka 50 kwenye shule zina namna hiyo, ambayo hakuna masomo hapo. Kwa hivyo naona kuna kazi imefanyika na yule mbunge ambaye yuko, lakini haitoshi. Mimi nia yangu, Mungu akijalia, nikiwa mbunge 2027 na watu wa Nyali wakikubali, ni kuhakikisha kwamba tunaongeza madarasa, aidha kujenga shule zingine mpya ama kuongeza spaces katika zile shule ambazo ziko. Ukiangalia huku Nyali tuko na shule sasa 14 public schools, lakini ukiangalia sehemu kama Kiharu kwa mfano, ambayo imekuwa ndio role model ya public schools, tuna zaidi ya shule 100 ambayo ni shule si haba. Ni masuala ya security, kuhakikisha kwamba mitaa yetu zina usalama, na katika kuboresha usalama niko na mipango ya kuweka CCTVs katika public schools na kuweka pia katika public spaces. Na nakumbuka juzi tukiona kile kisaka kilichofanyika kule Mtwapa, yule jamaa aliyekatwa mapanga, na akasaidika sana kwamba iliweza kujulikana kwamba wale waliofanya kile kitendo walionekana katika CCTV. Kwa hivyo hiyo ni moja katika zile ajenda zangu kubwa za kuweza kuboresha usalama huku Nyali, na mambo mengine mengi ambayo hatuwezi kuyazungumza siku ya leo, lakini niko na mipango kabambe za kuhakikisha kwamba tunaboresha sehemu yetu hii ya Nyali ili iweze kuwa ni sehemu tajika katika constituencies zile ambazo ziko Kenya.
All right, moving on, statistics indicate that a significant number of residents in Elgeyo-Marakwet County are living with undiagnosed health conditions. Speaking to journalists in Iten County Health Sector, Minister Monica Rotich revealed that many locals suffer from ailments such as high blood pressure and respiratory problems without being aware of their conditions. Minister Rotich urged residents to come forward in large numbers for health screenings to detect these conditions early and prevent complications. Take a look.
Don't know. For example, hypertension, diabetes and other chronic illnesses, but they may not be aware. So with partnerships and with friends like Simba and Strides, we are able to reach out and be able to screen our people and be able to see what challenges or what medical issues they could be facing. Yeah, the very common ailments are chest issues, hypertension. We have people with lumps, like people could be having breast lumps and a few other lumps, and they have not sought medical care. We have diabetes and several other, even cancer, and people may not know what is happening with them. Our people have a way of being very private about their medical issues, and going out to them will enable them to be screened and to be assisted even by way of referral to better facilities or even to higher medical care that they can receive, like here in Iten County Referral Hospital, and where complicated issues are there, we can still refer them to other facilities like MTRH, which is a level 6. So I'm asking our people that whenever we have a medical camp, because they are free, we have support from partners, kindly come out and seek medical attention. There are people who work and they've had hypertension for a very long time and they've not come to seek medical attention. Such people may collapse on the way as they walk or as they go around their daily activities.
When we go to people, they really show up, and so we want to also invite you guys to show up and be a part of this clinic. And we really see a lot of change and transformation in someone when they show up and they receive a diagnosis or are referred to a hospital or can receive treatment there. It truly transforms their life, and then they can go on and continue to help out their families, to help out their children, and even help out their.
All right, it is exactly 31 minutes past the top of the hour. That particular story wraps up our program here on EBN Prime Edition. Thank you so much for keeping us company until this particular minute. You're now up to speed. We're also making headlines from across 47 counties as far as news is concerned. I was joined by Laura Mondi on the sign language interpretation desk. My name is Martin Macharia. Do have yourself a lovely night. And as always, let's do this again when God says we do.